You guys, we have a very special guest for this video. Who do you think it is? What do you think could possibly be under this cloth? Her name is Vivian. I told her she could be in the video. Be nice. If I see you coming for her in the comments,
It's a Friday once again.
Hi, and welcome back, my fellow freaks. I hope you've all had a great week. We are finally on the final film of our summer of disturbing cinema 2025. Will it return next summer? I don't know. Maybe I'll choose a different theme for next summer. I think having like a summer theme is kind of fun. In the future, I would also, wow, that's already so loud. In the future, I would also like to maybe do a themed month for October and maybe Christmas. I like Christmas horror movies, and also where I discuss special effects and my love for like practical effects so much. There's one particular Christmas movie that I have in mind that I've seen like a million times, but I don't care. I'm thinking about talking about it this Christmas season just because I love it so much. But I'm getting months ahead of myself here. We are on the final film of the summer for the disturbing cinema of summer. Technically summer goes on until I don't know. Is it September? I don't know. We are here to discuss Guinea Pig, the first Guinea Pig film, The Devil's Experiment, from 1985, directed by Satoru Ogura, if I am saying that correct. And my biggest question with this film is, well, is it gonna live up to the expectations that I have for it? Many of the films this summer have not. Let me remind you that one of my comments about Slaughtered Vomit Dolls was that I didn't think there was nearly enough vomit in that motherfucker. I don't know if I'm playing it up in my head so much or if people are just being over dramatic. I just feel like people are constantly being over dramatic. Which leads me into just a tiny little short rant for the introduction of this. If I could have your ear for a second, and perhaps this might foreshadow my opinion of Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment, before we get into it. I have now watched the film in this iceberg that I feel like many could call one of the most infamous, most known, like torture out there. At least that's what I would assume. Like I've heard people talk about Guinea Pig for a long time. It seems like it's notorious in a way for me, right? After watching this movie, I feel like all of these pieces of the most disturbed cinema, which granted, I think perhaps some of my commenters are right at this point that the iceberg is based more on obscurity rather than how disturbing it actually is, which sucks because I thought it was a little bit of both. You know, I figured if it's like a down there, it's at least gonna be some like hard to watch stuff. And at least the selection that I have had this summer, I didn't find anything to be a hard watch. Nothing, not a single one of these. The hardest thing that I had to do this summer was read the Mei-chan manga. And I'm talking about films, so that I don't even feel like that counts. And I am starting to believe that the only reason these films are infamously sick and disturbing and disgusting is because a lot of people are too scared to actually watch the movie. And so now we're all just going off of these very sensationalized and over dramatic descriptions of what the film is. Because once you actually sit down to watch them, so a big chunk of these films, in my opinion, just felt like nothing burgers. Now, granted, I'll say, as much as I personally hated Slaughtered Vomit Dolls, well, maybe hated is a strong word. I felt some strong things about Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. I sure as hell was passionate. But I can see how someone who maybe isn't used to this kind of stuff would watch that and be like, wow, that's fucked up. But Mei-chan, there's worse stuff in Saw and Hostel. I mean, I feel like I can't even bring Green Inferno into this discussion because it's like a big Hollywood picture, and most of these aren't. Kind of the same with Sallow. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. I do have some final thoughts for everything as a whole, but I'll save that for the conclusion. But my little rant, I feel like just not enough people have actually sat down to watch these movies. They're too scared to because of these sensationalized descriptions. And once you sit down, it's really not that bad. It's not that bad. And Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment, is no exception to this. What a disappointment. It was maybe the biggest nothing burger of the entire summer. I'm sorry, this is like super infamous film. The second one, which I haven't watched, maybe it does improve because a probably coked up Charlie Sheen thought it was real. But this first one, really? People think this is sick and disgusting? I guess I'm just confused. And I'll give fans of the franchise the benefit of the doubt. Maybe when we are referencing Guinea Pig, we are referencing like one of the sequels that's better and not necessarily the first one. Or maybe we're just discussing like the franchise as a whole. But this first, I was very far from feeling sick while watching this first one. But I've probably rambled quite enough in this introduction. If you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. Any like running or crashing loud noises that you may hear in the background are my cats. And my reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements that are good or bad about a film, rather than just giving you a play-by-play of everything that happens. So in other words, I try to refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise as they pertain to the discussion that I want to have with the film. It might be hard in this case because Guinea Pig is really short and all it is just torture. So that's kind of all I have to talk about. I don't know if there's a way to discuss this without kind of pretty much spoiling it. Just give a heads up for that. If you are interested in watching Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment before the rest of this review, it is on Internet Archive. I will link it in the description for you. If you're interested in physical media, Sloppy Second Sales, our friend, I want to reach out, our friend, Sloppy Second Sales. Actually, they got the full collection. All, I think, 6 films on Blu-ray DVD. Blu-ray DVD, keep that in mind. They only have it on Blu-ray and VHS. God, do I also want to get it on VHS. I'm saying also because I recently ordered the Blu-ray collection from them. I'm really excited for it. And I will provide that description in the link below as well. And with that, let's get on with the rest of this review. Here's the thing. There is no narrative to Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment. The film pretends to be random found footage containing the torture of a nameless girl. The torture is separated into chapters with single word names that reflect the torture taking place, such as hit, guts, sound, and needle. There's also kind of hardly any noise or dialogue at all. I think the fact that there's not a lot of noise is kind of cool. The dialogue, however, it's 3 boys. I'll call them boys because they look like boys. It's 3 boys torturing this girl and they're the only ones that ever kind of speak. And man, it sure is pitiful. Vivian, it sure is pitiful that these guys suck at sounding intimidating. That is really truly it for the synopsis. Oh, note, by the way, you notice how this didn't have a trigger warning? It's because, well, the only thing taking place is physical violence. There's no nudity or essay. I was very shocked by that. Listen, where do I even begin? Because the film is so short and it feels like there's so little to discuss, but I'm sure this is going to end up being just as long as every video. Don't you even worry. Norman, be decent. I just know he's gonna, I took so long setting this up. I know he's gonna destroy it again because there's so little to discuss, because there's not even a narrative happening. This is probably going to be one of those rare instances where there's not multiple chapters covering different topics of the film. This is instead just going to be one big chunk of what my thoughts are. Norman! And yeah, I really struggled to figure out where should we begin? Where should we even begin? I have quite a few thoughts here. And I was thinking perhaps the topic of realism could be our starting point here, because it seems like that can be a main point of discussion when it comes to these films. And like I said, the second one is the one that I think Charlie Sheen called the cops on, which shout out to the commenter who referenced that in my Tumbling Doll of Flesh review. So I was expecting there to be like some level of realism happening in this film, right? My freaks, my bros, my freaky bros. Oh, it was so painfully fake. Oh, the whole movie was so painfully fake. This film felt so manufactured. Maybe I'm the only one, but I hope that I'm not. I don't know why, but the vibe this film gave me, what came across to me when I was watching this, is that this is some type of government-funded film on various torture methods. I don't know why. It gave me the vibe that this is a government-funded video. And it's gonna sound weird, maybe, but I think the biggest indicator of that for me was the lighting. Listen, the lighting's a little bit too good for it to just be three boys torturing a girl. Just saying. It feels like it's on a set. Like, it feels like there's a production behind it. If this film was trying to convince me that it's about three boys who have kidnapped a girl and are now torturing her until she dies, if it's trying to convince me of that, I feel like the boys wouldn't give a fuck about the lighting. I feel like they wouldn't give a fuck about setting a scene, you know? I feel like it would be kind of messy and they would just do it. Which, note, because I'll be referencing Tumbling Doll a little bit now. I do want to say the lighting in Tumbling Doll of Flesh, it was just all overhead lights from the house and maybe some lights that they already had set up because it was a shoot. That works. That makes sense. It wasn't like perfect. This almost seems like really good, perfect lighting. But hey, not even just the lighting. Let's talk about that acting, huh? I read a few IMDb reviews beforehand, before going into the film, and I saw a few which noted how the actress or the victim pretty much had no reaction to anything happening. And let me tell you, they weren't joking. On one hand, fine. I'll listen to the argument that she's a tough cookie. And I guess low-key respect for not shedding a tear while being beaten and shoved down and kicked and everything. I would, listen, I'm not ashamed. I'd be crying. I would be crying if somebody was beating the fuck out of me. And so it's really weird that she has no reaction. She doesn't even shed tears. She just is there. You know what I mean? She just is. And then there were other moments where things were happening to her and she still didn't scream, didn't have any kind of reaction. And these include when her fingernail is being pulled off, and I'm pretty sure when the needle goes through her eye, she doesn't let out a single scream or anything. But you know when she did scream? Would you like to guess when she did scream if you haven't seen the film? Well, she was absolutely losing her mind over having to listen to white noise for 10 hours and having random, I assume, animal guts tossed onto her. Yeah, I think that's proportional. I think listening to white noise for an extended amount of time plus animal guts being tossed onto you, that's way worse than extreme physical pain. You're right. Totally proportional. I'm a pussy because I would have screamed at having my finger... I can't even stand watching other people get their fingernail pulled off. You think I wouldn't be screaming at my own being pulled? I would be a pussy. I'd be a pussy. I'm sorry. Yeah. And by the way, we're gonna get into the special effects a little bit, but because I'm already discussing the fingernail, might I just add, fingernails always get me. It did not get me in this film because we hardly even see it. It's such a quick flash, and I feel like it's very obviously fake. I feel like this looks as fake as a fingernail pull scene I attempted doing. Fuck it, insert the clip.
They aren't just any stuffed animals, Eggplant. They're fucking Beanie Babies. I'm gonna be a millionaire in a couple of years.
You know, I'm not surprised it was you, but I expected this more from Razzmatazz. Whatever you're gonna do, just get it over with. Oh, you cunt! I thought you said you were gonna kill me!
Like, it looked as bad as that. And it was so quick. It was so quick, I hardly even saw anything happen. Fingernails get me the most, and I couldn't even get squirmed out by that. Come on. But, you know, really quick, I will give this film some props where props are due. I liked the fact that a lot of the torture method, well, not a lot, maybe let's say at least half. At least half of the torture methods used were unconventional methods of torture. Now, when I say unconventional methods of torture, I don't mean like in general. I mean when we're looking at like the horror torture subgenre. These aren't torture methods that you usually see in like a torture film, because these unconventional methods used are more realistic. It's one of the only realistic parts of the film, but it was realistic only in the sense of, oh, a government really made this. Oh, a government really made this movie to like show soldiers or whatever. It's real in the sense that, oh, yeah, a government really made this. This is educational torture material for military personnel to know. So I'll give some props. I kind of did like that. Kind of. Some of these methods, let me not say some. One of these methods, while yes, they would be torture, they really would be torturous, but watching it, it comes across so goofy. Man, oh my god, it comes across so goofy. If you have seen The Devil's Experiment, you might already have a guess at the chapter that I am about to note. The chapter titled Unconscious introduces spinning as a method of torture, and you know what? I think it would just be best to show my reaction footage. I swear to God, if this is the only thing for Unconscious. No, this is okay. Okay, this is like goofy. What the fuck are we doing? What is this goofy shit? Oh my god. Yeah, I can see this being a form of torture, but like, this looks goofy as shit, dude. Yes, this is a genuine method of torture. I think this is a very realistic method of torture. I would probably hate it. Also, let me say too, the vomit looked very realistic. But you cannot show me this scene. Hold on. You cannot play this movie up as much as everyone has, and then I know he's gonna destroy it again. As I was saying, I feel like people cannot hype it up or play it up as much as they have, and then they want to act like this scene doesn't exist and I'm expected not to laugh at it. I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I was seeing in this movie, because this is some of the goofiest shit that could have ever come up in a movie that is allegedly like so disturbing and so sick and gross. I just, you know, especially for how played up it's been. Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment is the one film this summer that I feel like I have no issue just being so honestly blunt about and so unserious about. There's nothing serious about this movie. It's really not disturbing. I really did not find it fucked up. Can I be honest? It's almost on the same level as a Lucifer Valentine film for me. Oh, and I really hate that. I didn't want that to be the case. As fucked up as it sounds, I was hoping to really like this one. And in this mess, in this absolute mess of just comedic whateverness, we unfortunately have to talk about the special effects, or kind of like the lack thereof. Maybe like the one single special effect that takes place. The only time special effects, or I guess practical effects, can I use those interchangeably? Tell me, chat. The only real practical effect that takes place is the finale with the needle through the eyeball. And you know what? It's all right. I think it's all right. You can still tell that it's pretty fake. But you know what? Something finally happened in the movie. I'll take it. But really, throughout, there's no real special effects, my guy. And when I say that, I don't mean like everything is real. I mean, they hardly do anything to her to even warrant using special effects. And the other special effects that are included are so minute. They're so like tiny and very simple and easy to do. Some of it just being her skin looking more red than usual. There was very barely any blood. I think the bloodiest it got was when they were throwing guts onto her. And that's not even her blood or her guts. I assume they were like animal guts or something. And as I said before, no nudity. Interesting. No nudity. No SA. Very interesting for a film this low on the iceberg, and also like this known for being disturbing. Which reminds me, just one final note before we go on to our conclusion. Guinea Pig the Devil's Experiment is not snuff. This isn't snuff. It's not even close. How I have always, what I've always understood snuff to be, which I don't have any reason to believe I'm wrong, but snuff is the combination of and the real mutilation or murder of one of the people involved in said. A combination of the two. Both components, I feel, are important to it being snuff. Now, as I discussed last week, I'll put a card up if you missed it. I think Tumbling Doll of Flesh perfectly embodied what I picture snuff to be. It is like a perfect balance of the and the mutilation and murder, and then at the end, in a very sickening way, combining the two. That is what I think of when I think of snuff. And The Devil's Experiment, again, feels like this government-funded educational film for like military personnel to teach them about the different methods of torture. And I especially get this feeling from the lighting and the lack of reaction from our actress or the victim. Now, maybe the other films, maybe one of the sequels or a few of the sequels better fit the category of snuff. And I will find that out because I will return to the Guinea Pig franchise in the future. But this first film at least, I would never call this snuff. This is not snuff. And if for any reason, because it is missing one of the two very prominent components that make snuff, which is the. And I guess a little side note with this also kind of decreases the realism factor on it too, because you're telling me there are 3 boys torturing a girl and filming it, and they decide not to her. Listen, as gross as that sounds, it is unrealistic, because I highly doubt that 3 boys that are torturing a girl and filming it are not also going to be SAing her. Now listen, I'm completely fine having a break from it for once, but I'm just making a note of it that it does impact, I think, the realism of it. Now, I will end by stating that I think I do see and understand why this film has been as influential as it has. It came out in 1985, so I would assume if this isn't like the first film that is in this kind of subgenre, it's at least one of the very first films in this subgenre. And I think with other later films that also delve into torture categories, you can see like the influence that Guinea Pig has had on other horror movies. So I'm not gonna deny its influence on the genre, okay? I get it. I see why it's been influential, especially because at the time this came out in 85, I bet it was way more convincing than what it is now. But as it stands now, unfortunately, We've seen way crazier shit in Saw and in Terrifier. Like, way crazier stuff in Terrifier than what's in Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment. And unfortunately, it doesn't even have a lot of realism going for it. A lot of it feels very fake, especially because the victim just doesn't react to anything happening to her. And then again, the lighting, I don't know why, but the lighting and like the sets, it just gives off the vibe of it being government funded to me for some reason. I do appreciate the more unconventional torture methods, even though they do kind of come across more as goofy than anything else, at least to me. I don't feel like it's the worst thing that I've seen, like worst as in pissing me off, but I am severely disappointed because this has been so hyped up. It's been so hyped up for so many years, at least like in my circumference of knowledge. But it's been so hyped up to be sick and disgusting and realistic and also snuff. And it's none, I don't think it's any of those things. This first film at least, I am willing to accept that maybe when people are talking about it, maybe they're talking about the second one that Charlie Sheen thought was real. I'll give you guys that. Maybe you're not talking about the first one. But this first one, you know, it was really boring. It was really boring too. Very boring. Like I said, hardly any blood. The only real special practical effect was the finale. And again, she's not screaming while having a needle through her eyeball. Vivian, what do you think about that? She can't believe it either. Vivian said that she would be screaming her nuts off. Man, none of these films this summer have really been as intense as I expected them to be. But before I get into a general discussion of our summer of disturbing cinema, just like a few closing thoughts on it, we do need to put Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment within its tier. I would love to put it in the C tier. I would really, really love to put this in the C tier. Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's unanimous. Guinea Pig, The Devil's Experiment is going in the D tier. I'm sorry. And I don't even know if I want to put it above or below Lucifer Valentine's films, I'm gonna be honest. Oh! It was the shortest film. It was the most boring film. It was the most nothing film. I feel like it was the one that delivered the least out of everything, even out of Mei-chan. And maybe that's because I've known what Guinea Pig was for so long, so it's been so hyped up for me for so long, and I'm just left so disappointed. I don't know. I mean, I guess at least it's not edited like a YouTube poop. Yeah, I really wish I could put it in C, but yeah, this first one's going in D tier, my guy. Now, like I said, we will be returning to the Guinea Pig franchise on this channel. The one that I'm excited for the most, let me tell you, is Mermaid in a Manhole. I'm gonna be doing them in order, but that is the one that I am the most excited for. And that does it for this week's review and closing out our summer of disturbing cinema. Before I give my final like goodbyes that I do, let's give like a little brief, a few final thoughts on these 8 films that we have covered over the last 2 months. So I, in my mind, have created 3 categories that I have listed things under, which is the most disturbing, the most realistic, and the one that I just liked all around. Let me first give a big congrats to, I believe her name is Laura Bell, the commenter who very early on said, "Girl, I've seen all of these and Sallow is the most disturbing." Give Laura Bell a round of applause. Because I think you're technically right. I think technically I would call Sallow the most disturbing this summer. Because listen, these later ones really disappointed. They really blew it, my guy. Laura, you were so right. I think I would call Sallow the most disturbing film that we watched this summer. Just from what the plot is, what the context is, how vulgar it is. I think technically it's the most disgusting. But technically, let me just put a little asterisk. Technically, the Mei-chan manga was the most disturbing thing this summer, but I'm not reviewing the manga, I was reviewing the film, so I don't think that counts. And even though I would call Sallow the most disturbing, I do think Tumbling Doll of Flesh is pretty sick, especially if you can handle a little bit more intense stuff. That stomach scene in Tumbling Doll especially, sick. And I feel like I can say this with my chest out a little bit more after having watched The Devil's Experiment. I think Tumbling Doll of Flesh was the most realistic of this summer. Like, I don't know if, again, it does have very set up fake shots. But if it were not for those shots, it would come across very realistic. And I liked it. There was something about it that I really liked. And I think it maintains the throne, the crown of being the most snuffy snuff that I've seen yet. So round of applause to Tama, wherever he is now. You won most realistic on my channel. And finally, which one did I just enjoy the most? Like, enjoy all around, I guess. I think it's not a shock if you've seen the review, but Girl Hell 1999. I've actually already watched it a few times since that review. Wow, I liked it. I genuinely like Girl Hell a whole lot. I think it has a very good balance of like sick, disgusting, disturbing content while also still maintaining a real narrative. And again, I love John Waters, and there's just something about the vibe of this film that reminds me so much of an old school John Waters picture. So those are my opinions. Those are my closing thoughts. Let me know if you guys enjoyed the summer of disturbing cinema. Let me know if I should do it again. Now, disturbing movies will arise again in general on the channel, mixed in with some more obscure B-movie stuff. But if you enjoyed this, let me know if I should do it again next summer, or even let me know of some other themes that I could do next summer. Maybe I could do like all camp-based horror movies. I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibilities for like summer content. But you know what? Thank you guys so much for being here, for making it all the way until the very end of the video. And if you were on me through this journey of all 8 films, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh wait, I lied. There's actually 9 films. We have one more bonus movie. Now this film, the next week's film, it is on the disturbing movie Iceberg. However, it's going to be more of a palate cleanser. Let me just tell you that. We're not looking at something genuinely fucked up or anything. In fact, I would dare to say that it's more of a comedy than it is a horror movie. At least there are a big chunk of people out there who think this is more of a comedy than a horror movie. And I have still never seen it. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. 10 points if you can guess in the comments what it is though. But thank you guys so much for being here, and also thank you if you stayed all the way until the very end of the video. Vivian thanks you as well. If you like this video, please make sure that you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. Also, if you just like to hear me ramble about horror movies so much that you know, you want to hear more and perhaps once a week, consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified every time I make a new upload. And new reviews are every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On the screen are some of my social medias if you would like to follow me there. And just one final, Vivian, get in here. One final thank you for you guys, for your time sitting here making it all the way to the very end. I know that our time here is precious and we really don't have a whole lot of it. And the fact that you have used your time to sit here and listen to me ramble about this, thank you. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you and your time. Thank you for being here. If I don't see you in any posts or anything, then I will see you in next week's video. But until then, please Have a good night and stay safe out there. I had it in my notes and I forgot to completely say it anywhere. How the worms are the best part of the whole movie. So now you have to watch the worms for the outro. Have fun. Ha 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 ha.